Hey friends all over the world. I'm literally about to fly out and I'll just be back in a day. I tremble as I share this word with you because I didn't want to talk about this anymore. And I won't be speaking about it again. But I want to share this shocking word with you about our nation, about what's going on, about everything. And I need you to listen very carefully and hopefully maybe share it with a friend. As I was praying today, and I'm gonna start backwards. So I'm gonna talk about the Biden prophecy, and I also want to talk about the truth about Trump. Now you have to hear what I'm saying because this is one of the most important things I'm going to say on this. So I want to start with the Trump part, the truth about Trump, and I want to start with this because this is so important. You know, as I've been praying and I've been really seeking God and just contemplating and spending time with him, one of the things that I've realized about this season that we're in, and I've said this before, this has been a season marked with great deception, a season marked with great manipulation. And if you remember, toward the middle and end of 2020, we had the pandemic, we had all these things going on, but the rhetoric surrounding this season and the rhetoric surrounding Trump was that he's dangerous, he needs to be removed, he's a threat to democracy, our nation is going to be safer when he's gone, and we need to we need to do whatever we can to get rid of him. He's not safe. And so this was the moniker. This was the push. But it's interesting to me, and I'm not trying to be political here, but I'm going to move on to the prophecy. But it's interesting to me that in the first 90 days of this current administration, we've had armed conflict. We've had, I should say a conflict. I don't know if it's, there was a Syrian situation. We've had more mass shootings than we've had in a very long time. We've had violence against ethnic minorities. There's a lot going on. And so my question is, who are we going to blame it on now? Like, who's to blame for this? If the greatest threat was the outgoing administration, who's the greatest threat now? And that's a rhetorical question. But I'm gonna give you this word. I want you to think about this and really hear me and really think about what I'm saying and really share this. So the Lord began to deal with me about this current administration and the culture that's proliferating now. And one of the words that the Lord spoke to me is this. He said, Dagon will fall. Dagon will fall. Dagon. Dagon is the Philistine god, the ancient Mesopotamian god that was worshipped. And the Bible says in 1 Samuel chapter 5 that the Philistines stole the Ark of the Covenant and they brought it into the house of Dagon. Now, let me go back to something that happened in the book of 1 Samuel. When you study 1 Samuel, you'll begin to see that, and I've shared this with you before, but you'll begin to see that it begins with, of course, Hannah or Hannah. She has the promised son. She gives birth to a child supernaturally who she was barren before, and she gives birth to Samuel, and he is devoted to the Lord as he is supposed to be devoted to the Lord, and he is raised in the temple with the high priest Eli. And so Eli is training him, he is his mentor, and Samuel gets a prophetic word over Israel. I'm just paraphrasing for time, that basically the glory will depart from Israel. That there will be Ichabod or Ichabod. And the glory is departed from Israel. The glory is leaving Israel, and the word of the Lord will become dearth. It will become dearth. There will be a dearth of the word in the land. And so we see Elijah, of course, Eli and his sons die as a judgment of God. And then, of course, the people ask for a king. And this is all happening in succession. They ask for a king in the form of Saul. Saul rebels. He's a narcissist. He rebels against God because of rebellion and witchcraft. He is replaced. And then David arises. And when David comes back on the scene, we see a couple of things happening. We see this process that the Philistines stole the ark, and now the ark needs to return into the house of Obed-Edom. Okay? And eventually come back into the possession of the Israelites. Now, why is this important? Because if we look at what's happening, we can see a biblical parallel. We see that in many ways, when we look at America, the glory of God departed from many houses of worship. And as a result of that departure of the houses of the glory from the houses of worship, we've replaced worship with entertainment and smoke machines and good coffee bars and motivational sermons. And because of this departure of the glory, what has happened is that the people in turn demand a king. Now, this is important because I'm coming to this part of the whole issue of Dagon and how that applies here. The fact of the matter is that because of this dearth of the presence and glory of God, what happens is that the people begin to forsake the ark of God, to neglect the ark of God, and as a result, the ark is stolen. I'm saying something, you got to hear what I'm saying. The ark comes into the presence of Dagon, and Dagon falls on his face before the ark. The idol. Dagon is a half man, half fish. He's a merman. He's a fertility god. One of the roots of his name means cloudy, right? He is a god that was worshipped to bring the rain, to bring the harvest. He is half man, half fish. A demon that they're venerating. And this demon is erected, and this demon is venerated, and this demon is worshipped over the Philistine nation. And when the ark comes into the house of worship, which represents the principality that governs that nation, that demon or that deity or that idol falls to the ground, and ultimately his head and legs are cut off. This is important to understand. His hands, his head, and his legs are cut off, which represents his power, his influence in the culture. And here it is, God is saying that there has been a turning away from the ark. And in many ways, the prophets of God have been silent because of the dearth of the word of the Lord, and because of the intimidation. So many prophets have been silent. They've not been speaking anymore because we saw what happened in the last 6 months. Don't you dare say anything don't you prophesy anything political, because, if you're deemed a false prophet, we're going to shut you down. And so this silence, watch this, has caused a theft, a spiritual theft, a spiritual abduction of the voice of God. Because the powers that be are intimidated by the voice of God. They're intimidated by the prophets. They're intimidated by prophetic voices. And here it is, this deity which is responsible for the abduction of the ark, is the same deity that will bow before the ark of God, representing the glory and the presence of God. And I'm prophesying that the ark of the covenant, and this is not, I'm not talking about in a physical sense. I'm talking about in an anagogical sense, if you will, the spiritual understanding or the deeper spiritual revelation behind this is that the presence of God is about to manifest in the earth, and that the idols that we've set up in government, the idols we've set up in culture, they are about to fall, they are about to be disempowered, and the prophets of God are going to rise again. The prophets of God will rise. The voice of God will rise once again. And that the spirit of intimidation and the spirit of fear that has been shrouding God's people is about to be broken once and for all. And those who have stolen, those who have abducted, those who have gained illegally will be held to account. And the spirits, the forces, the powers, the principalities precipitating this theft will be brought to their knees. Share this.